True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. It is February 8th right now, 5:24. The timestamp for this one is actually important because I feel like there could be updates any minute at any time. I've told everyone I know, to start, we're talking about Nancy Guthrie today, which I think everyone is following. People have been asking us when we're going to do an episode on it, and we've been trying to gather all the info. But as I was just saying, I think an update could happen at any moment, all the time. I'm always looking at my phone. I don't want to miss anything. I've told all my family members to be on standby that as soon as they see an update, make sure I know because, for any new people joining us, I do have a small baby that I take care of during the day. My baby. Not some baby, my baby that I'm taking care of. So my fear is I'm going to miss some huge update because I'm changing a diaper or something. I'm you make sure I know every single update because I cannot miss it or else we'll be ruined. Everyone will be like, TCS didn't post it promptly. You can't even trust them.
It's so, I don't know, everything in this case seems to happen in the evening. Someone made a comment about, whoever's involved must have a 9 to 5 because it all happens after 5. But all day it will be quiet. And so now we are kind of at, I think it must be 3:30 in Arizona or something. Let me just double check. Hold on.
Yeah, it's 5:30 here.
Oh, is it? Yeah, so it's nearly 3:30 p.m. in Arizona. So I'm well, everything's going to kick off soon because some days we're it seems pretty quiet in this case today. And then all of a sudden there's a flurry of stuff that happens at night. So,
yesterday I literally said, quiet day so far.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's another video. There's things going on. And I'm kind of grateful that it happens either when we're both awake because like I said, during the day sometimes it gets a little crazy for me, but it is weird how it always seems to happen in the evening.
Yeah. I don't know. And we are obviously you mentioned we're going to speak about Nancy Guthrie. So we're now at day 8 in the investigation, which I didn't think it would go for this long. I thought it would be done and dusted in a few days. There would surely be a resolution, but there hasn't been. Maybe, I don't know, hopefully by the time, or maybe I don't say hopefully. At this stage of recording, there hasn't been a resolution. We'll have to wait and see what happens, as we get this episode edited and out. But it just seems to be ongoing and I don't know, hopefully the police are holding things back because it doesn't it kind of does remind me a little bit of the Idaho case because we thought they had nothing and they had a lot. So hopefully, fingers crossed it's the same.
Yeah, so we're not going to be doing any real chat today because we figure there's going to be people who don't normally listen to our episodes probably tuning in who really don't give a fuck about what we're doing or the weather. But the weather is really crazy in New York. It is so cold. It was a wind chill of -20, but that's all I'll say. So we're also going to try to get this episode. Well, we are going to get this episode out early. I'm pushing myself to edit it right after we record so I could get it out on Patreon, give them their head start that they deserve and earned. And then we will put the episode out the following day, meantime, as long as all goes to plan. I don't want to jinx myself. As long as nothing crazy happens, that is the plan.
So just to keep it concise today, we'll just do our Patreon weekly shout-outs. So this week, we've had V, Heidi, Lindsay, Lee, Josie, and Katie. So thank you very much. Woo! And I also just wanted to give a shout-out to our patron, I can never remember.
Patron, technically.
Patron, Nicole. I feel like she's been with us when I looked the other day since 2023. So a very, very long time. She's a really active member on all of our social media channels, especially Facebook. And she has kind of...
Big star.
She's a massive star. She's kind of spearheaded this Nancy Guthrie social media discussion. We're up to thread 6 now, which is essentially over 6,000 comments that she has, done a great job of facilitating. We're so appreciative of her. And even today, it's Super Bowl Sunday for you guys. It's Monday here, but I messaged her and I said, look, we're just going to record today. If anything massive does happen in the Nancy case, are you going to be around? Would you be able to send me a message? And she's like, yep, I didn't even watch the football, so I won't be distracted. So I've been checking still as we are going to record. We don't, that's how quickly things are happening in this case. So anyway, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to her because she's been so helpful and has had so much good information in this case. So thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, I was joking. I should message her and give her my phone number for the daytime just to be like, because we're both US. So I'm like, if there's an update, I should just give her my number so she could text me just in case as like a triple backup. But yeah, I've got my tweet alerts on for Brian Enton, as always. A couple other reporters that are on the scene. I'm checking my phone. It's right next to me. We're locked in. We're ready. So that being said, let's go back to the start. We're going to go through this chronologically. So we're going to go through it as it happened, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the start, we're not talking about information that came out 2 days ago in the story.
So when this first broke, I actually sent a screenshot of it to Stephanie. It was like the day it happened, and I said, I just have a feeling this is.
I woke up to it.
I said, I feel like this is going to be a big one, and it was basically the mother of Savannah Guthrie, who's the Today Show host, is missing, and I'm like, I just feel like there's something going on with this. So I started a blog, which is where we've pulled a lot of these notes from. So that's, if you want to read the blog, it's truecrimesocietyblog.com. And basically just day by day, I've been adding to it. So that's what we mean when it's chronological. We will start from day one of the investigation with what we knew, then we'll go day 2, and we're up to day 8. So that's what we're going to run through today. And if anything else does happen, we will have to add in some updates. But basically from start to the absolute current, pretty much down to the minute of where the investigation is.
So for those who don't know, which I'm assuming most people do, but Nancy Guthrie, she disappeared from her home in Pima County, Arizona on January 31st, February 1st, kind of in the middle of the night. So that's why you put the 2 dates, 2026. And this case has made big headlines because her daughter is one of the Today Show anchors, Savannah Guthrie. So if you watch the Today Show, you will definitely know who she is. She has been on the show for a decade, I'd say. She is basically probably one of the bigger anchors in the US, probably most recognizable at least.
Yeah, I don't want to, obviously, like we don't get the US Today Show here, so I wasn't very familiar with her, but when I did look her up on social media, when all this happened, she had like over 1 million followers already. She's now at 1.6 million on Instagram, which none of this really matters in terms of how popular she is, but it just shows you that she's a very well-known figure. And I think that's why a lot of people are so invested in this case, because it can happen to anyone, essentially. These types of things can happen totally out of the blue, even to someone like Savannah Guthrie, who has a security team and, you know, a very public presence.
Yeah, and for people, I feel like everyone in the US basically knows the Today Show, but the Today Show is like a huge show. So many people watch it in the morning. I remember always watching the Today Show and Good Morning America while we got ready for school in the morning. Like one would always be on in the background. So I think that's how it is for a lot of homes. Like while you're getting ready for work or school, one of them is probably on in the morning. So, as some background into the family, Nancy Long was born in January 1942. She married Charles Guthrie around 1963, and he worked for Phelps Dodge, a major mining company based in Phoenix, Arizona. He was involved in a project in Melbourne, Australia during the 1970s, where the family lived briefly. Savannah was born in December 1971 in Melbourne. Savannah has 2 siblings, Cameron and Annie. The family relocated to Tucson, Arizona around 2 years after Savannah was born. Nancy remained in the area until her disappearance. So Charles passed away from a heart attack in 1988 when Savannah was 16, and she has spoken about that publicly. She told her Today Show co-anchor Hoda about the moment she first knew, quote, something was badly wrong after returning home from a night out and noticing all the lights in the house were on. She walked in the door and saw her mom and sister sitting on the couch and their heads were bowed. She said, I knew something was badly wrong the way you can feel it. And this was all on Hoda's Making Space podcast. She continued and said, there's like an electricity in the air, and I can remember my mom coming toward me to try to hug me and tell me really fast, Dad died. Savannah also shared memories of her dad, describing him as a force and an amazing, magnetic, joyous, charismatic, incredibly loving, warm, kind, forbearing personality. She said, sometimes it feels good if I can have a tear or a cry for my father. I'm glad because it's an act of love. It's me saying, I still love you, Daddy. She also spoke about how her father had suffered a heart attack when she was 13. She said, I don't think we understood how serious that was. And then 3 years later, he had another heart attack, and that one was fatal. It was so unexpected. She said, I think it changes everything. I always think of it as our calendars. We have BC and AD. There's a before and after. It's just this stark dividing line. There's before my dad died and there's after, and it's profound. Grief is a lifelong process. I really believe that. There's acute grief. She's paid tribute to her dad on occasions like Father's Day and her 50th birthday. She said that after she became a parent herself, the death of a parent brings with it wisdom that alters who you are. She said, when you lose a parent like that so suddenly, it's so shocking at 16. You just have some knowledge. You just know something about the world that hopefully others don't have to know. It's all very sad considering now she most likely, hopefully not, lost another parent in a traumatic, unexpected way.
Yeah, and I did include that information because I feel like Savannah and Nancy are very close. Like there's a lot of photos of them together. Nancy visited the Today Show set, multiple times. They seem like, especially after the death of her father when Savannah was so young, that they became extra close. Like she seems to have been very involved in her mother's life. It's not like they were estranged or anything like that. They seem to, especially, I can't really speak on the sibling dynamics, but they do seem now that they are united for the time being. Who knows what will happen, but they seem like a relatively close family, but especially Savannah and Nancy seemed very close.
Yeah. Before we get into the rest of the episode, we have a quick word from our sponsor, No CD. Have you ever had an unwanted thought really get stuck in your head, like in a way that felt deeper than being unsettled by it? Maybe you got caught in a spiral of endless what-if scenarios, couldn't stop picturing disturbing mental images, or kept questioning yourself and wondering things like, could I ever be capable of doing something terrible? Here's the thing, almost everyone has thoughts like that. They just might not talk about them because they can be violent, frightening, or taboo. But if those thoughts are feeling stuck in your mind and causing a lot of distress, it might be a sign of obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD. OCD latches onto these thoughts and can make you feel like a monster, even though that isn't true. That's what makes OCD so debilitating. The thoughts and the fears can feel so real that it keeps people suffering in silence. Plus, not every therapist understands OCD or is qualified to treat it effectively, which can make it difficult to reach out for help. So instead, people seek relief through certain mental or physical actions, even though they never seem to help in the long run.
But you know what does help when you're struggling with OCD? Specialized therapy. And that's why we want to tell you about No CD. With No CD, you can do virtual therapy designed specifically for OCD. Their licensed therapists understand even the most taboo or hard to talk about symptoms. And most importantly, they know how to help. Every No CD therapist is trained in exposure and response prevention, or ERP, which is a type of specialized therapy that's the most proven treatment for OCD. No CD also accepts many major insurance plans, including United Healthcare, Aetna, Cigna, and more, making life-changing treatment accessible and affordable. And they provide always-on support between your therapy sessions, so you're never alone. If you think you may be struggling with OCD, please don't wait. Go to nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call with their team and find out more about how they can help. That's nocd.com to learn more and book a free 15-minute call.
So after her husband's death, Nancy worked in public relations at the University of Arizona. She did this in order to secure free tuition for her children. So Nancy was living alone in January 2026 in the Catalina foothills, just outside of Tucson. Her address is public record, and those records indicate that she had lived at the same address since 1975. So, I mean, she's been in the area for a long time. It's not like she just moved there or anything. I did find this comment on Reddit, and it gives a little bit more of an idea about the area. It says, I know people in this neighborhood have been to parties at houses there. It is beautiful, older Tucson homes on rolling hills on lots of at least an acre. They're well landscaped to blend in with the desert and set back from the road for privacy. There is dense desert, brush, and trees. It's not the flat scrub you see in Phoenix, and it's more green and lush. It's more green and lush for a desert. I don't recall seeing streetlights. My friend does not have sidewalks outside of her house. When we left about 11 p.m., it was pitch black, and you could see the stars so well. We had to use our phone lights to walk to our car. Unfortunately, I can't imagine things happening at home spaced this far apart and neighbors not hearing. So seems like not like a remote area, but that the houses were kind of secluded and meant to seem remote-esque.
Like there's a lot of aerial photos that have now been released. Like obviously all the news agencies have drones and things like that. So like there's Nancy's house, and there are houses kind of surrounding it, but it's not like a normal suburban neighborhood where you're basically right on top of each other. Absolutely, I would agree that, it could be pitch black, and if something was happening at one property, you wouldn't necessarily hear or see anything, as a neighbor. They're far enough apart that they are quite secluded despite being kind of in the same vicinity.
Yeah. So Nancy was said to have been active in her community and that she regularly attended church. She did have some physical ailments and limited mobility. She was unable to walk 50 yards unassisted, which is interesting considering she lived alone. I guess it's kind of
Yeah.
far for like if you're just dwelling in your house and you can sit and take breaks, but I did think that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of people
Um,
questioning why someone who was, I guess, vulnerable and had, as I mentioned, she had limited mobility, was living alone, but it does sound like she had a lot of help. I've read things that she had like a household staff, which I'm assuming maybe it was like a housekeeper or a carer or something like that. So, you don't need to be able to walk far to live by yourself. You just need to be able to get to the bathroom and the kitchen and things like that. But
yeah,
I feel like it just was especially highlighted in the early stages of the case because there was no way that she probably could have just wandered off, for
wandered
example.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, as someone who worked at a primary care office was around a lot of elderly people, a lot of them do not want to give up their independence and will try to stay as independent as they can until they literally cannot. So,
And
could be
obviously,
something along those lines too.
this is a family. Well, Savannah has resources. Like her earnings are out there. She makes millions and millions of dollars. Not to focus on that, but they did have the resources, I guess, for Nancy to be able to remain at home as long as she could.
Yeah. So Nancy was said to be taking daily medication, and they said this at the time, but now I don't know if they were just trying to create a sense of urgency. They said that if she doesn't have it in 24 hours, it could be fatal. So that had a lot of people worried because, she's been missing for going on 8 days now.
Yeah.
So we're like, but people are still questioning if she's alive. So I don't know if they just said that again for the urgency, and they did say could be fatal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos said Nancy Guthrie is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia-related case. She's as sharp as a tack. Many older and retired couples live in Nancy's neighborhood, a resident told a reporter who visited the area. People are friendly and also tend to keep to themselves, the woman said. The resident told the media that there's desert landscape between the homes and thick with cactus. I saw some folks walking their dogs, but the layout of this neighborhood creates a lot of privacy. It's kind of just doubling down on the other comment that we said of just how the layout is. It makes the houses seem more secluded. Around 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, January 31st, 2026, Nancy was dropped off at her home by family members, and we'll circle back to that a little later.
I was just going to say, just to reiterate, that's all we knew at the time. There is a more detailed timeline, which we'll get into, but at the time, that is what they released. That basically she was dropped off by family members at her home at around 9:30 p.m. that night.
When Nancy did not show up for church the following day, as expected, on February 1st, her family was contacted because I guess it was strange for her to miss church. It seemed like it was something she did regularly. So relatives then went to Nancy's home around 11 a.m. to check on her.
So there are a lot of questions about this church service, and people were saying, well, how is Nancy going to get to church if she had this limited mobility? So that really hasn't been confirmed. We know that Nancy did have a car in her garage that eventually will get towed by the authorities. So some people have said that she did still drive, but then other comments I've read is that it was actually online church. So I don't know. We don't know what the answer to that is, but essentially, either way, she was expected to attend either virtually or in person, and she didn't, and that was noticed. So the family were told pretty quickly. Like, I don't know if it's the same there, but I feel like most church services here are like 9 or 10 in the morning. So maybe around that time. And then, when she didn't show up, obviously she's an elderly woman. So you would be worried that something maybe health related had happened to her. So the family were told and they went to the house around 11 a.m.
Yeah. So the family searched the home to no avail. And at noon, they called 911 to report her missing. Sheriff Nano said, we get these calls quite often and we do a good job of searching the area, but this one stood out because of what was described to us at the scene and what we found and located just in looking at the scene. So obviously when we all heard that, we're like, what's at the scene? Which we did find out some details that we'll come back to. But at the time we were like, uh-oh. So deputies responded and found that Nancy's personal belongings, including her phone, were still at the home, which is never a good sign.
No.
The Pima County Sheriff started their search for Nancy, who they classed as a vulnerable adult. In the press conference that day, Sheriff Nano said that Nancy is considered not in good physical health, but that she has no cognitive issues, some physical ailments that limit her mobility to move around.
There's kind of an infamous photo now, I think, in this case, and it's of Savannah and Nancy standing together on the Today Show set. And in it, and I never noticed it till I looked at the photo properly, and you can see that Nancy's arm in it is very black and bruised. So I'm assuming she was maybe on like a blood thinner type medication, or like obviously, very thin skin as you age. So, but yeah, there was clearly some medical issues going on that you could see in photos that had been taken, very prior to all this happening.
Yeah. Sheriff Nanos also said, we believe now, after we've processed that crime scene, that we do, in fact, have a crime scene. And we're asking the community's help. The sheriff noted that they have reason to believe that Nancy did not leave on her own. So another thing that we were like, uh-oh. Later that day, Savannah made a post on her social media asking for prayers. She said, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love and hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him." She also wrote, "Thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment." So also on February 2nd, Sheriff Nanos told the media that they found biological DNA that was submitted for testing. He told the media, "They have taken what we believe is biological DNA type evidence and we're submitting it to labs," which I feel like is pretty obvious. It's blood, but he just doesn't want to say that. Obviously, we know now that's what it was, but even just saying that, it's like, okay, what else could it be? I know there's other things it could be, but that's the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
On February 3rd, 2026, the sheriff's office announced a reward of up to $2,500 in the case, which everyone was like, what the hell? That is low.
Why so much, like so little information? Such a little reward, I agree. Like, and obviously based on what the family has as resources probably, but I feel like that is the Pima County Sheriff's reward, that, they obviously have more limited resources. But I'm like, wow, that doesn't seem like much.
That's not going to entice me to come forward if I have information, I don't think.
No. And a lot of people have criticized the Pima County Sheriff, which we'll get into, and I do agree. Like, I don't know if it would have made a difference, even if it was, say, $50,000 or whatever, but it was a crazy low amount.
Yeah, and I get that they probably don't deal with, like, this case has a ton of attention on it, a big case. I'm sure they are not used to dealing with it, but it's a lot. It's a lot by it not being a lot.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Just them as a whole. So the sheriff said, "It's a race against time, and I hope that window hasn't closed." So by this time, the search for Nancy included resources such as canine units, aerial resources, and drones, and the FBI also joined the search at this point. Investigators started to trawl through CCTV and neighborhood camera systems for clues, which it doesn't seem like there was a lot of. I mean, I guess I wouldn't know. They could have more, but it just didn't come off that they had that much CCTV or like any footage or anything. I don't know if just the houses are set so far back that like there's nothing helpful on the road. Because like with my camera in the front of my house, I could see the road. But with someone with a long ass driveway around hills, like you're not going to see the road.
Yeah,
what's going on at other houses.
Looking at kind of an aerial photo again of Nancy's house, and a lot of these houses are kind of set back. So it's not just like a normal street where you'd have to drive past their 10 houses or have many houses to get out. You'd actually have to make an effort to get to these other houses. So I feel like a lot of them probably have cameras literally for security, like at their front door and just for their property, whereas it wouldn't be like, it's not like the Tepe case where they were able to get other camera footage from the neighborhood, because they're just not close enough to capture random movement. It's just, it will just capture what is actually happening on the other properties.
Yeah. So on February 3rd, this is the day that it all kind of went much crazier.
Yeah.
TMZ announced that they had received an alleged ransom note relating to Nancy's disappearance. I immediately was like, oh, okay, so it's fake.
Yeah, so did I, absolutely. Especially, and like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy TMZ.
We love TMZ.
And often I feel like their information is right and they are the quickest to get it out. They have these sources and they're obviously from a lot of them are from a legal background, so they verify it before it can come out. But when they were doing this, I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. This surely isn't
Well, I thought
correct.
Sure they got a ransom note, but it was fake.
Yeah, so did I. I was like, they're just doing the whole sensationalist thing, but maybe not in this case.
But I don't know, it seemed like that it could be real. We don't know. So this is their article about it. It says, another scary twist in the disappearance of Today host Savannah Guthrie's kidnapped mother. TMZ has received an alleged ransom note demanding payment for the release of Nancy Guthrie. The note, which was sent to us Tuesday morning, demands a specific substantial amount of Bitcoin. The amount is in the millions. The note demands the cryptocurrency be sent to a specific Bitcoin address, and TMZ has verified the Bitcoin address is real. There's a deadline connected to the alleged ransom and an element of or else. So Harvey and Charles of TMZ said in a live stream that she was wearing an item mentioned in the note, or more so, in fact, that she was not wearing it. It's like we didn't know this at the time, but it's an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Basically, it seems like something he said later in an interview that we watched with Anderson Cooper that it was the positioning of the Apple Watch, maybe where it was left at the house, that like specifically made it seem like this could be real, so that she wasn't wearing it at the time she was abducted. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the Apple Watch was 100% left at the house, and so we'll get into police in the next few days. Like, obviously, we're at February 6th. What did we say? No, February 3rd. We're at February 3rd now. So in the next few days, the police will release a timeline, but 100% it is confirmed that the Apple Watch was left at the home. So,
yeah,
if this was all before kind of the timeline had been released, but there were just bits of information being drip fed here and there. So
yeah,
it kind of muddied the waters a little bit. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's
Apple Watch was left at the house.
People who saw the ransom note knew more and knew they weren't supposed to say anything. But as time went on, TMZ and another station, I think, got the same ransom note.
Or a similar.
That they're not very clear of that. There was another news station that got a ransom note. I don't know if that one's fake or if it was like they sent it to the local station first and didn't get as much attention, so they sent it to TMZ. It's still not totally clear about that, but there's just a lot going on.
As of the time of recording too, none of these notes have actually been made public. There are little, snippets of information that we now apparently know, but yeah, we don't know if they were the exact same note. But yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like people have started kind of to leak like little things about the notes that have seen it.
Before we finish up with the episode, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Quince. Quince is all about elevated essentials that feel effortless. Designed for layering and mixing, each piece helps build a timeless wardrobe made to last. With versatile silhouettes and thoughtful details, they're the kind of styles you wear again and again. They've got the wardrobe staples with quality that's made to last. 100% organic cotton sweaters, premium denim made with stretch for all-day comfort, luxe cotton cashmere blends perfect for the changing seasons. Everything you need for a wardrobe that actually lasts.
Quince works directly with safe, ethical factories and cuts out the middleman, so you're not paying for brand markup, just high-quality clothing. I have a few pieces from Quince that I really love. Everything is such high quality, and it really doesn't break the bank, which is awesome. I was actually just browsing their website because I love to shop, and I noticed that they had some bamboo sleep sacks for babies, which I'm really excited about because sleep is always just like such a drama with babies, and I'm definitely going to be ordering one of those because they look really nice, and like the other pieces I have from them, I know that the sleep sacks will be high quality, so I'm excited to give them a try. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/TCS for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/TCS to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TCS. And the ransom note also described another item the sender said it was damaged at her home. So we'll get into that in a couple of days' time in the timeline. The Pima County Sheriff responded and said that they were aware of reports about a note that was circulating. They put out a statement and said, "We are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes regarding the investigation to Nancy Guthrie. We're taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives who are coordinating with the FBI. Encourage anyone who may have any information or tips to share them via this QR code." So despite the case being new at this point, police said that they were done with Nancy's home as a crime scene and they released it. So reporters then visited the scene and took videos, and you can literally see the blood drips on the front porch and that her Ring doorbell or whatever doorbell camera
I think it may have been
missing.
a Nest camera, but her doorbell camera has been removed from its like holder type thing.
The like bracket.
I just still can't believe they actually did this. Like, this is literally 3 days or even less than when she went missing. Even if they had processed the scene, they shouldn't be letting report. Like, it should still be a crime scene until they find Nancy. Like, no one should be allowed there. Basically,
it's crazy. Like, as much as I'm nosy and I think it's very interesting, I was like, damn, Brian Enton or his cameraman, whoever, just literally walked right up to her door and was like, oh, there's blood right here.
Yeah. So like if you haven't seen the photos, they're on the blog, but just to describe them, basically there's a big kind of wrought iron front door. People have made a massive deal about this. Like, wow, it must be a bad area because there's bars on the doors and windows. People have said, no, that's very standard.
Decor choice.
Yeah. And like, I feel like it would probably be quite a thick metal to keep a lot of insects and stuff out too. But basically, they walk straight up to the door. There's a black front doormat, and next to that, there's a pile of blood droplets. I wouldn't say it's specifically like a pool of blood. It is pooled together, but they're drops. Like it looks like, from what I would think, a cut or a bloody nose.
Yeah.
It's not something where someone is like, I wouldn't say it's a life-threatening amount of blood. Obviously, Nancy's an older woman, so it could be dangerous, especially if she is on a blood-thinning type medication. But it's not a huge amount of blood, and it is essentially droplets that are pulled together in one of the spots.
If you saw it not in relation to this case, you'd be like, oh no, someone like cut themselves. You would be like, oh, someone's murdered.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we also learned on this date that Nancy's Apple Watch stopped syncing with her pacemaker around 2 a.m. on Sunday. Nancy's watch was left behind at the home, which may be an indication of when Nancy was abducted. Nancy... dispatcher. So the dispatchers could be heard saying, when giving out her physical description, they said, Nancy has high blood pressure, a pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
So yeah, in terms of when they said it may have been an indication of when Nancy was abducted, obviously maybe she didn't wear her Apple Watch to bed, or maybe they took it off her before she went there and they left it behind. Obviously, you can be tracked by your Apple Watch, so I don't know which of those is correct. But essentially the timeline of around 2 a.m. at that point indicates probably when whatever happened.
Yeah. On February 4th, police went to the home of Annie Guthrie and her husband, Tommaso Sioni, because they were the last people to see Nancy when they dined together on Saturday, January 31st, before taking Nancy back to her home. So that when we said she got dropped off by family members before, she was at their house having dinner or something, and then they drove her back home. So this info is from TMZ. It says photos show a deputy wearing an ICAC shirt arriving Wednesday afternoon at Annie and Tommaso's home. And what's even more interesting is what he appears to have in the bag over his shoulder. Now, the ICAC badge appears to be from the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and the box with a strap over his shoulder is believed to be a forensic extraction device used to access data from smartphones, SIM cards, and more. The Celebrate Universal Forensics Extraction device can even retrieve encrypted data and deleted content. So I know people are like, Crimes Against Children Task Force, why are they involved? It's because they're really good at getting information off of computers, because obviously a lot of crimes against children are online and like the dark web, things like that. So they're just super good at getting that information from electronic devices.
I feel like that kind of sent some people off in another tangent. They're like, well, what does a crime against children have to do in this case? Is there some more going on? But I think I agree. They just used that team because they were specialized in retrieving the information that they needed.
Yeah. Sheriff Nanos spoke to the media on this day and said that authorities were going with the assumption that Nancy is still alive. He said, we have nothing else to go on but the belief that she is here, she's present, she's alive, and we want to save her. Savannah and her two siblings made a public plea for information and for their mother's safe return on February 4th. Should I just put the whole clip in?
Yeah, I would. That will save us going through all of this. So
yeah
that's fine.
So I'm just going to put the whole clip in. It is kind of long, but I think it's obviously worth the listen. First talking is Savannah, then I think her sister Annie talks, and then Savannah talks again.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
Cameron didn't talk at this time either.
But he's there.
He's there. They're all together. Like, people had a whole bunch of questions. Why isn't he talking? Does that, again, people just read a lot into every single thing this family do. But yeah, at the time, it was just Savannah and Annie who made the first public plea.
Yeah, and people have made a lot of dumb comments like, why are they reading a script? It doesn't sound very from the heart because they're holding papers in the video.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, give them a fucking break. You know how hard it is to, this was a long statement. It was 7 minutes long. They're not going to remember everything they want to say, and I'm sure that this was something that they worked on with the FBI and, like, that there was some strategy involved in it as well. So, I don't know.
I've seen...
Not to, go off on a tangent, but this is, people who don't always follow true crime cases are following this one. Like, a lot of people who probably just watch the Today Show and just aren't realistic about their expectations of the family members. So I just think some of the things I see online are the dumbest comments I've ever seen. I'm sorry.
I saw one comment and it's the family are acting so weird. And the person wrote back and they said their mother has been kidnapped. How do you want them to act?
Yeah.
What are you expecting? Anyway, and obviously we don't know what the outcome will be. That we'll get into speculation and theories, but we've mentioned that Annie Guthrie's house has been searched. So we don't know what the outcome is going to be. But yeah, I agree. Especially Savannah, who I suspect is not likely involved in any of this. She is a seasoned person who deals with them. She is the media. That's her job. But I understand that she would need a script to be able to remember everything they want to say. They're trying to expedite the process of getting their mother back. Of course, you'd want to have notes. It's just ridiculous.
I'm sure they haven't been sleeping. They're tired. Yeah. It's very hard to use your brain under those circumstances. So people need to give them a break.
So, as we mentioned, despite authorities saying days earlier that they had processed Nancy's house and released it back to the family, law enforcement went back to the house on February 4th. Brian Enton wrote on X, right now investigators are putting crime scene tape back up at Nancy Guthrie's house. Major police presence here, canines and search teams. Brian also shared that there was a grid search happening in the wooded area around Nancy's house right now. So in the video, they literally are going around like her landscaping, like the cactus and things like that, and putting the crime scene tape off to totally rope off the property. It's not just the actual house. It was kind of her yard and things like that as well, which it just still blows my mind that they released it so quickly.
I said it reminds me of John Benet Ramsey, how they just had like everyone in the house running all over the place. And they're like, whoa. Days later, this is a crime scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's too late.
So the Pima County Sheriff's Department did tell the media that they had received a report of a possible trespassing near Nancy's home before her abduction. They said this case was being reviewed, as are all other cases within a close radius, and they said that law enforcement was also working in conjunction with the FBI. This is information about the trespassing incident from TMZ. It says the Pima County Sheriff tells us that in early January, so around a month before she went missing, an elderly man spotted the trespasser at his Tucson home, which is less than 10 minutes away. The Sheriff's Department said the case was forwarded to the unit investigating Nancy's case for possible leads. I feel like at this point it was just clutching at straws. I highly doubt it was related to anything, but it was just another aspect of the case that raised some questions.
Yeah.
So that night, February 4th, the community members and her church did hold a vigil for Nancy. There was a flurry of activity on the case on Thursday, February 5th. The Pima County Sheriff's Office held another press conference. So in this, we learned more about the timeline and we learned about the ransom notes. We learned that there were multiple ransom notes sent and the police were treating at least one of them as being legitimate. Heath Janke, FBI Phoenix's special agent, spoke during the press conference, and he said that in one of the ransom notes, they'd set a deadline for 5 p.m. on Thursday. So that was that same day. Basically, they held the press conference on the Thursday, and that the first deadline given in the ransom note was set as later that day. He said, and if a transfer wasn't made, the second demand was for next Monday. I'm not going to go beyond that. So just to give you an idea of where we are in this investigation, it's now Sunday there. So tomorrow is the next deadline. He also said, this is an 84-year-old grandma that needs vital medication for her well-being. You still have time to do the right thing before this becomes a much worse scenario for you. Please return Nancy home. One of the letters apparently also referenced a floodlight at her home and her Apple Watch, but authorities have said they aren't sure if that information hit the media before the note was written. So I feel like that is what the TMZ letter was referring to, which makes me think the one that was sent to TMZ is one of the legitimate ones. They referenced the Apple Watch. I did read that there's speculation a floodlight was broken. So obviously, maybe she had like a flood sensor light and that the perpetrator broke that so it didn't go off. I don't know. But that I think is what that is reference to.
Yeah.
They also said at the time that blood at the scene was tested and they confirmed that it belonged to Nancy. Police said they hadn't identified a suspect or a person of interest at the time. So we did learn more about the confirmed timeline also at this press conference. Investigators confirmed that Nancy travelled to her family's home, as in Annie's home, at 5:32 p.m. local time in an Uber. There's been a lot of questions about this. Why are they letting an elderly lady go in an Uber? Why couldn't Annie or the husband pick her up? We don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
Seems
know
weird to me too, to be honest. But
it is a bit strange. But maybe they were busy, and Nancy was like, she seems like quite an independent person. So maybe she's like, hey, I'll just get an Uber. It's fine.
Maybe she Ubered to church, how we were talking.
Yeah, it could have been also. But anyway, 5:32 p.m. she got an Uber and went to have dinner with Annie. At 9:48 p.m. the garage door at Nancy's home opened when she was dropped off from dinner by her relatives, which is Annie and the husband. The garage door closed at 9:50 p.m., which all seems to make sense. Like obviously maybe she entered the house through the garage. I know a lot of people do that. So maybe they lifted it up, she went in and then she shut it behind her within the next minute or two. At 1:47 a.m., her doorbell camera was disconnected, and at 2:12 a.m., the software detected movement, but no video was available. Sheriff Nanos said, could that be an animal? I imagine it's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video, but we're not giving up on that. So I did find that strange because if the doorbell camera is disconnected at 1:47, how is it still picking things up at 2:12? And we have had a discussion about it, like maybe it was placed somewhere, like it wasn't totally disconnected. It was just removed
taken
from
off
the
bracket.
holster. I don't know. So I guess disconnected could mean different things to different people. I do
but
find
also
it strange.
Then, not to like jump ahead a little, but yesterday, I think it was, they were shown taking something off the roof that either looks like a floodlight, and there is a floodlight mentioned, or a camera. Some people are saying it's a camera. So could there have been another camera that's all part of the same system that picked something up? But it's hard to say, and the police aren't clarifying, so that's all we have to go off of.
Yeah. So Nancy's pacemaker disconnected from the app on her phone and her watch at 2:28 a.m. So originally we knew it was around 2 a.m., but they've specifically said 2:28 a.m. On Sunday at 11:56 a.m., her family checked on her and discovered that she was missing. Police were called at 12:03 and the patrol arrived at 12:15 p.m. During this press conference, Sheriff Nanos said, "We believe Nancy is still alive. We're at the phase now where sometimes we're waiting for analysis, and we're waiting for lab reports." So during this whole kind of few days of the investigation, there had been searches happening at other locations. People were speculating it was Annie's house. As we mentioned, they saw the crimes against children team there. The sheriff made a statement about those searches. He said, and because there was also speculation that Annie's car had been searched, he said the car that was at the home, it's just standard investigative practices. It's part of the search warrant scene. The court orders will pull it out of there and do our scene processing with the vehicle, because people were obviously questioning why is Annie's car being, why are they focusing on her? So anyway, that he tried
I do feel like they're kind
address
of
that.
I feel like he's kind of lying though. Like it's not just like
Yeah. Well, yeah. So on February 5th, a Californian man named Derek Kallela was arrested in relation to fake ransom demands. So his, I feel, is not the TMZ note. His was separate, and he was texting
But I was
family
did
members.
he even write a note, or he just jumped on after there was word out that there was ransom notes, and he started like trying to text the family?
I feel like, and his word text, like I haven't actually seen that he submitted a note to anyone, but basically he found Annie's and her husband's phone numbers online, and basically he texted them from an internet phone line. The text read, "Did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on the end for the transaction." Law enforcement traced the phone line and found it was registered to Derek's Gmail account and determined the call was made from his Californian home. So again, dumb, but they acted on this very, very quickly. They were able to arrest him super quickly. When federal agents arrived at his home, Derek is said to have admitted sending the texts, and the timing of the texts, I guess Derek decided to send them, was because Savannah and her family released another public appeal right around this time asking for proof of life. So it seems like Derek saw the appeal and then found the numbers and sent the text. So this was a super quick video. I think it was under 30 seconds if I remember rightly, and it was just Cameron Guthrie, Nancy's son and Savannah's brother, speaking. This was the first time he spoke. Do you want to put it
I'll
in?
just put in the clip of it, yeah.
So we'll just put in the clip here. It's very quick, but he basically just asks for them to get in touch because they have no way to communicate with the abductors.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
On February 6th, a new message was sent to news agency KOLD regarding Nancy's abduction, and this information about that is from CNN. It says KOLD says it received the message earlier today through its tip email. The news station said it forwarded the message along with the IP address from which the note originated to law enforcement. While the IP address of the new message was different from the old one used in an earlier note to KOLD, the sender appeared to use the same type of secure server to hide their address, according to the news outlet. The new note contains information the senders seem to think will prove to investigators that they're the same people who sent the first note. They said they will not release details out of respect for the Guthrie family. One of the reporters at KOLD said that the station received the message at around 11:45 a.m. local time. So the sheriff's office responded to the new development, the new note. Officials wrote, investigators are actively inspecting the information provided in the message for its authenticity. So we have learned since that the note didn't include any proof of life for Nancy. It also didn't include any new ransom demands, and it didn't include any way for the family to contact the abductor or abductors. We still don't really know what was in this note. Basically, I guess kind of reiterated that they were the same people.
Yeah.
Officials went back to Nancy's house on February 6th and they towed her a blue SUV from her garage, assuming this is Nancy's car. They were also seen removing some type of device from the roof of her home. Like, again, I just can't believe they released the scene and then they're going back to do all this. It just blows my mind.
That's why I'm like, because people are saying it's a camera. I'm like, would they have really not taken the camera the first time around? I'm like, maybe it's a light, because it does look like it has a solar panel, maybe, which I know could still be a camera or a light. But I'm like, I'm saying maybe it's a light in hopes that they weren't like, no, we don't need to take that camera.
Yeah. So a neighbor of Nancy's spoke to the media. She said she asked investigators to look at the roof as she thought it had been recently recoated. The neighbor is a woman named Laura Gargano, and she told CNN, you see in that image, you see how white her roof is. The previous 3 weeks, we had a lot of rain, so it would be normal for a roof to be a little dirty after it rains. I had just mentioned to a detective, just check out whoever was there if she had her roof recoated recently. So I did find it interesting. The roof does look super new and super white. So maybe like this is another angle. Like I know people have said that they need to check out the Uber driver, but then if there were contractors working at her home, I agree. They should be looked into.
I did think that too initially, not to like into theories, but it made me think of like Elizabeth Smart, especially there's a new Elizabeth Smart documentary out right now. So she was just kind of on my mind. But that's exactly what happened with her. It was someone that was working on the house, saw Elizabeth there at the home, and then just made this whole plan just based off of doing some work at her house.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, like maybe she spoke to, like, obviously we still don't know what's happened in this case, but just along the lines of that, maybe she had a conversation with the contractor and that person knew her daughter was Savannah Guthrie.
Saw pictures.
Yeah, exactly. So thought this was an opportunity to do something if that's what turns out to have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So on Saturday, February 7th, which is yesterday at the time of recording, the Pima County Sheriff said there will be no updates or press conferences held. Sheriff Nanos said, right now I have no plans to schedule any further press conferences unless we have some real evidence or something to bring up to you. It's pretty pointless to keep hounding the same things over and over. So this marked day 7 of the investigation. I personally did think this was going to be a pretty quiet day. Like there didn't seem like there was much planned. It seemed like the authorities were just kind of plugging away. As part of the notes, one of the only things I could find at that point were that they had put a digital billboard up for Nancy, but they said they didn't have any suspects, any people of interest, or any vehicles connected to the case. So it was quiet for a little while, and then in the afternoon or the evening, things started to happen again. Savannah and her siblings posted a new video on social media. This is like I feel like, I don't know if interesting is the right word, but it was
there's a lot of chat about this one. We'll put very cryptic in the clip.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
So as you heard, the clip is quite short, like it's under 30 seconds. They're all holding hands on the couch if you haven't seen the actual video.
They're not holding notes this time.
No.
Right?
But very, very cryptic, and not everyone, but people have read into this very differently. I don't know if you want to say what you think, and then I could say what I think.
Personally, I think that Personally, I think that video, it made me immediately think that they found out that Nancy is deceased and they are trying to get her body back without saying that. And this is another one where people are like, this is so weird. Why are they saying words like valuable and some other words that kind of seemed off? And in my mind, I'm like, the FBI most likely wrote this. Like, they probably have a hostage negotiator type person who's working with them and saying the correct words to try to get what they want. But to me, I think that the person, if this is a real person, the ransom note said that, she's passed away either from something the person did or maybe from her medical issues. And that's why I think they're saying, we understand.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Like it could have been like maybe, I don't know, like there's all these like discussion now. Did the abductors get back in touch with the family? Because they've gone from now apparently seeming like they had no information and no way to contact them to having some type of information, maybe. Like that's what people are reading into it. We asked what people on Instagram thought. Some people are on your like train of thought where they're saying it sounds like they know that she's deceased and they just want her body back. Whereas other people are saying they must have gotten proof of life, which I did tend to read it that way as well. Like maybe there was a different message that the abductors gave them, if there was a message. I don't know. It's just one of those things where everyone is reading into it differently, and for, rightly so. There's a bunch of ways it could be interpreted just because it's so cryptic. Someone actually said they think it sounds like an FBI diversion tactic, which I thought was an interesting take. But
that's why I was wondering, kind of like, maybe all of these ransoms are just a distraction from the real investigation they're doing. Maybe they're like, we know that these ransom notes are fake,
yep,
but it's distracting from the real perpetrator, knowing that we're on to them.
letting them think they got away with it maybe. And
yeah. I did also wonder that, but who knows? Because that would be a lot.
So with all the discussion about that clip, I did find an interesting excerpt from CNN. They're doing, if this case is still ongoing by the time this episode comes out, which I don't know anymore, but they do really, really great live updates daily. They do like a daily blog. And this is an article I found really interesting. So I just pulled an excerpt from that. It says that a former FBI agent who worked on kidnapping cases spoke to CNN, and that person thinks that their family do not have direct contact with the abductor. He went on, his name is Josh Campbell, and he went on to say the decision to release the plea publicly on Instagram indicates to him there is no established line of communication with anyone potentially holding Nancy. He said if there is an actual line of communication that is set up, this is treated sensitively and protected. This is not something that either the family or FBI crisis negotiators, for that matter, would actually be publicizing. So I did find that interesting because it goes against them seeming to have maybe received another message. I don't know. It's just all speculation, but just another interesting take on what is happening at the moment.
I feel like it's their only way to, if this is all for real, I feel like it's their only way to communicate with the abductors if the ransom situation's real.
Yeah.
Is like they just have to put out these videos, and because there's no way to contact them.
So that all happened, and then all of a sudden there was another flurry of activity at both Nancy's house and the home of Annie Guthrie. So authorities went back to Nancy's house. They also went to Annie's house, and it was dark by this point. I think it was around 9:30 p.m. when I was watching this live because people were going live. Like Brian Enton was there. There was a bunch of people there. The house was dark, but there was light and flashes coming from within the house. We've posted a video on our Instagram of it. Very, very clearly flashes. Brian did call them camera flashes, which it could be. There was a lot of speculation, though, that they were doing luminol testing, which is why the house needed to be dark. Generally, how luminol works as a very high-level, non-scientific explanation is that they spray or put luminol on a surface and it will basically light up if there is blood or other substances present. So it obviously has to be dark because you can't see it under light. So authorities searched Annie's home for over 3 hours. Like there was a lot going on. I feel like that is a big search. After they came out of the house, some of the authorities were seen wearing blue gloves and they were carrying brown paper bags. So they were still taking things from the house. There is a lot of online discussion because Annie and Savannah and the family were said to originally be staying at Annie's house when this all first happened. They've since been moved or have moved somewhere else. So people are like, well, that is what happened. They got them out. They got them to do this other public plea. But while this was all happening, they were essentially getting ready to search the house. So was it a tactical diversion? I don't know. But either way, they returned to Annie's house to search and carried out a very, very long, thorough search that night. And literally, this is probably 12 hours ago at the time that we're recording. So news agency KGUN released a video last night, and they actually released information about the amount that was demanded as ransom. They reported that the family must pay $6 million to the kidnappers by Monday at 5 p.m. Again, a lot of discussion online about this. Savannah's annual salary is reported to be $8 million. So people are thinking that, 75%-ish of her salary is a fair and reasonable amount. But they are the only agency that have specifically listed the ransom demand as $6 million.
Yeah, it hasn't been confirmed, but...
No, but they're running with it. I screenshotted the video because I'm like, this is the only place I can see this reported, and so we've got it out there. But
and I remember the TMZ guy did say it was millions.
Yeah, I did. Like the TMZ one was a bit wishy-washy because I didn't know if they requested Bitcoin in the millions or the money.
Bitcoin.
But when I looked it up, what did I say? $1 million. No.
We're not going to get into Bitcoin.
Yeah. So now we are at day 8 of the investigation as of the time of recording. It's February the 8th, Sunday there. Kind of a quietish day for now. It's I'm just looking at the time in Arizona. It's 4:21 p.m. in Arizona currently, so we don't know what will happen tonight. But authorities have been seen searching septic tank or water storage ports on Nancy's property today. There was like Fox News, for example, has drones put up where there looks like the person is kind of digging around in a septic tank with a pole to feel, I guess, what is in there, which is a bit morbid. Someone said it reminds them of Chris Watts, which maybe it does, I guess. One of the reporters from Fox, I believe it is, spoke to local residents. The residents said to him, the homes here are not connected to sewers, so they have septic tanks. Since this deputy, though, has no mask or gloves on, it might actually be water storage. So either way, it's something where that would hold liquid, like a well type situation that would hold liquid that they are searching. Someone in our Facebook group did actually, which I found this interesting, pulled the septic well records for Nancy's house. This is a comment they made. They said they have no record of a well and state they are connected to the City of Tucson Water Services. For septic, it looks like they had a smaller septic tank that caused drain field failure back in 1991. So then they had a 1,000-gallon septic tank installed, and they've actually got a map of the property where all the septic is. So I just feel like maybe this will come to something, but then also it probably should have been searched before this, surely.
Crazy
maybe.
What you can find online, too, about anyone's property.
Yeah. And in terms of law enforcement, as of now, basically the only update they've given us today is a non-update. They've said the Nancy Guthrie investigation is ongoing. Follow-ups continue at multiple locations. No suspects, persons of interest or vehicles have been identified. No scheduled press briefings. If any significant developments occur in the case, a press conference will be called. So the last thing, just before we get into, I guess, discussion and theories and speculation, is I did find another article today from CNN where they interviewed a former SWAT team captain, Josh Sherrard, and he said that he believes investigators are probably ramping up the search for Nancy, which I don't know why they haven't done that already. But to be fair, the second ransom demand is Monday. They have indicated that basically if the ransom isn't paid by then, Nancy may not survive. So he said, if this is for real, they're on the clock and that clock is ticking short. So anything that they can do has to be done, and it has to be done now. He said, I still think we have no valid two-way communication with this possible hostage taker and the author of these ransom notes. And the family putting out these messages have been the only way that they've been tried to communicate back in order to establish some form of authenticity so that they can get proof of life and know that Nancy is still okay. He said that as the deadline is approaching, both sides are probably getting a little desperate to start communicating. He said, when we look historically, we generally don't see deadlines that are this far out when we're talking about dealing with hostage takers. He said, now the video we saw last night from the family was very cryptic, but very directed to the ransom note author. So there may be some things in the note that obviously law enforcement isn't releasing that may be lending to its credibility and authenticity, and that was the response for that. Mm-hmm. So that is where we are at as of the time of recording. Obviously, if something big does happen, or we'll have to put in some updates. But just to start our discussion, I guess, in theories now, a lot of people are suspicious with the amount of searching that's been going on at Annie and her husband's property that maybe police are thinking she was involved. And I guess the other one is, I guess there's three main ones. A total stranger abduction, and the person just got lucky that he picked the family, a woman who has a wealthy family, someone that targeted Nancy. It could be someone like a contractor, an Uber driver, someone who kind of knew what she was.
Kind of random, kind of new.
And then the other one is that the family, someone in the family or a family member or members know more and are involved. Yeah. People have been sending us a bunch of messages asking. I really don't know.
I know.
I don't know. I did have suspicions about Annie, and because the investigators have been so focused on her and her husband, I thought maybe there is a reason for that. And I guess time will tell, but maybe it could be that essentially she's the only family member who lived near Nancy. Like the Cameron lived in Vermont.
And Nancy was at her house.
Nancy was at her house the last night. People are now asking, did Nancy ever actually make it home that night? I don't know. Like, this is all speculation. We have no idea. We actually have no idea. There's no footage to go off. All we know is when her pacemaker disconnected. So it seems like she did make it home, because I feel like otherwise
Her stuff was at home.
And also her pacemaker would have disconnected if something did happen to her earlier that night. It would have disconnected prior to that. Like, even if she was attacked, for example. And I feel like whatever happened absolutely did happen in the early morning hours. It's just a matter of who is responsible, I guess.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Well, and another thing we didn't really get into about a lot of heat is on Annie and her husband, because Ashley Banfield pretty early on said that she had a high ranking like source that had told her that they were being looked at closely because
it's more
of
so
some
even
things.
the husband, Annie's husband, is the prime suspect in the case. And Ashley Banfield did double down on that. And there's talk now that that she may be in trouble for that. We don't know. But yeah. It is. She did. But then she also had information that may have been correct about the floodlight and the Apple Watch and things.
I feel like she'd
well.
have to be pretty confident in her source to say that, even though I do think she can be like a little crazy.
Yeah.
She is like a legit journalist. Was a legit journalist for a long time, so I don't think she'd put that out there unless she was like pretty confident and trusted the source.
Yeah,
I don't know.
This search last night at Annie's house where they were doing the luminol, that worries me, because I'm like, why are they doing that? If it is luminol, I'm assuming.
But even just taking pictures, also
and they like one of the things they walked out with was a really big paper bag. So people are actually speculating it's part of a wall, which worries me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, based on that stuff, it does seem like there's like a chance. But I don't really know what to, because I also wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't a contractor. Early on, I mentioned, I did think like, was there people working at the house? Could it be something like that? I don't think it was like total random stranger, because why her house, especially if they're in like these, ow, Peep just scratched me. Why her house specifically? If it's not like it's like right on the street, easy to get to. Like, it would still be a little hard to get to just randomly pick her house out. So I think either family or someone close to her, or someone that was doing work at the house, or someone that kind of like casually knew her.
Yeah,
someone who'd been to the house at least.
I feel like the least likely scenario is this was just a random person who tried to get into a house and it was found, just got lucky that it was Nancy. I feel like it was someone who knew who Nancy was for whatever reason. And there's a bunch of other reasons why people suspect Annie and her husband. Like people are speculating was financial issues. I feel like if it was them, and if Nancy is still alive, they must have some help, because there's no way they could just sneak off and feed Nancy and medicate her and things like that when they're just being publicly scrutinized, I'm sure, and being watched. So if they are involved and Nancy is still alive, they must have help. I guess the other option is that Nancy is no longer alive and they don't need to worry about that. But then I don't know, if it is them, how could they have possibly ever thought they would get away with this? I guess we've seen it in the past where people just think they become arrogant. They think their plan is foolproof. So maybe it was something along those lines. I really, really actually don't know. I think Nancy could still be alive, which I know that you don't. But the only reason I'm thinking that maybe she could is I'm wondering if they have tracked her pacemaker. And I know that it disconnected from the app and all that, but I wonder if there's we've had a lot of people message us and say that the I guess manufacturers and cardiologists can monitor someone's pacemaker, so there might be a way it can be tracked. So I wonder if they have done that, and that's kind of a proof of life that they know she's still alive, which if that is the case, that indicates that someone is medicating her and caring for her. I don't know. I just wonder if but maybe that's not even something that can be done. I don't know. I just have questions about that, and no authority has clarified that either way. So I did Google about pacemakers, and basically it said that hardly anyone is continuously monitored, but that there are sometimes ways that you can monitor or check how someone is going via their pacemaker. I don't know. Maybe if Annie and co are involved, there is a greater chance that Nancy is alive, possibly. I don't know. But I know that we've seen it does, just because they're family doesn't mean that they're going to be more caring about her. We've seen that multiple times in our Kids Who Kill and Deadly Dads and all that type of thing. It doesn't matter. If they were that desperate for money, which I think would probably have been the motivator in this case, if that's what it turns out to be, then maybe they just didn't care. Or maybe Nancy accidentally passed away. They didn't mean for it to happen. I don't know. But essentially, I also wouldn't be shocked again if it's just someone who targeted her because they thought that they could get money from the family.
Yeah, I do wonder though if it is the family members, like Annie and her husband, whatever. Like, are they writing the ransom notes, or again, is that the distraction to the public and the distraction from Annie and her husband, so that they think that they're focusing so much on these ransom notes that they're really gathering more information on Annie and the husband.
And also you wonder if it is someone who can't get away now. Like when I say get away, I mean like they've been watched, they're around people all the time. Maybe that's why there's been limited. I don't know. I really, really don't know what to think anymore. This is an interesting comment that you found. I'll just read it out. It says, the very vast majority of this kind of murder, which we don't know that it is yet, but is committed by someone very close to the victim, like a family member, for reasons like resentment or money. A stranger abduction and a ransom note from someone with an ulterior motive is such a statistical anomaly that it's almost unheard of. That said, crazy things happen every day, so it is possible. So I feel like this whole entire case is crazy. I do feel like the FBI are in charge of the case. The Pima County Sheriff still thinks he is in charge of the case, but I feel like the FBI are absolutely pulling the strings. They are working with the family. So I feel like the Pima County are maybe doing the kind of more day-to-day investigative things like the forensics, whereas the FBI are in charge of the ransom and actual abduction part, it seems like.
I think Pima County is like doing the FBI's bitch work, basically.
Yeah. And yeah. Even like I saw there was comments that the Pima County Sheriff was at a baseball game last night, the night or night before, and there's all these discussions like how dare he's got this on, and other people are like, well, he needs a life, he can have a life. Like, I don't know. There's a lot going on. So I don't know. I feel like the FBI absolutely know more than they're releasing, and the Pima County Sheriff maybe doesn't know much more than what they are releasing. So as we mentioned, just to clarify where we're recorded up to, this is day 8 around 5 p.m. in Arizona. If anything major does happen, we're going to try and get this episode out in the next few days. But if anything major does happen before then, we'll jump on and record another update or put a clip in if it's a bit of a minor update. But that is where we are at as of the bulk of our recording today.
Hey guys, it's Stephanie here. I am just hopping on quickly to give you the latest updates. It is 8:15 in New York right now on Monday, February 9th, so that would make it 6:14, I believe, in Arizona. Either way, the deadline for the ransom has passed. It does not seem like they paid it, according to TMZ, because they have the Bitcoin account number or however that works. So according to them, it has not been paid. This is the end of day 9. Savannah did release a new solo video asking for people to help her, asking for people to keep an eye out for her mother, saying that they have no idea where she is or where she could be. So I'll play that here.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers, and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
There was also some more interviews today. Some things that I saw was Brian Enton did an interview. He said that I don't remember if we said this before, but the search of Annie's house was consensual. They asked her and she allowed the police to search her home, so it wasn't like there was a warrant or anything like that. She allowed them to search the house. One thing that I did think was interesting that Brian said was that apparently her husband, Tommaso, has not been seen since last Tuesday, which definitely makes me side-eye a little bit, because where is he? You'd think if your wife's mother was abducted, you'd be around? Very interesting there. Not going to say anything else, but I really don't even know what to think. I do think that's super suspicious. I don't know. People keep asking me what I think's going on, and I really don't have an answer for people. Unfortunately, I still think she's most likely deceased, and I'm kind of leaning towards all the Ransom stuff being a hoax, but we shall see soon, hopefully. I asked Olivia if she has a statement for me to read on her behalf, and she said that she's still confused and she's wondering more about the brother-in-law's involvement. If she was truly abducted, why aren't the kidnappers doing anything? So that is it as of right now, 8:17 p.m. Eastern Time. Anything that happens after this, I'm sorry, it can't be in this episode. With our luck, something major will happen as soon as I post the episode. But just make sure you're following us on Instagram, because we're posting all the updates on there. So thank you guys. Here's the outro of the episode now. Bye. So that's it for this episode. Everything will be on the blog, as always, at truecrimesocietyblog.com. We've been posting tons of updates to our Instagram. That's probably the best place to get updates. If you want to follow the case, make sure you're following us at True Crime Society on Instagram. We're always posting updates ASAP to our stories and reposting on our grid. So if you're following, check us out there. If you want to follow my account, mine is _, Olivia's TCS Olivia. Check us out on Patreon also, because we do all the episodes ad-free. We release the main episode a day earlier, and most importantly, you get a weekly bonus episode, so you get 2 episodes a week. So check us out on there on Patreon. Plus, you get your name shouted out on a main episode like you hear at the start of today. If you could share the podcast to your story so people can see it and get the word out there, subscribe, all the usual things, leave us some nice comments. And that is it. I have a crying, teething baby on my hands, if you can hear him. So I must go. So thank you guys for listening. Love you guys so much. Stay safe out there. Peace out.